Everyone, I'd like to call this meeting to order. 7:01. Um, Approval of agenda.
I move the agenda be adopted as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, any other suggestions? I see none. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Having said that, I would like to read the acknowledgement of First Nations. The Mayor and Council wishes to acknowledge the town of Fort Smith is located within the Treaty 8 territory. The Treaty 8 territory also combusts of traditional homelands of the Salt River First Nations, the Smith Landing First Nations, and the Indigenous people of Fort Smith. These nations have maintained stewardship over their sacred lands throughout the generations, and we honor their knowledge, teachings, and traditions in the land. We are meaningful that colonization hasn't been kind. We respectably recognize our generational histories and commit to striving for unity in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. Thanks. Okay, presentations. We have the RCMP here. And if you're ready, you could start.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here today to present the July monthly report. For the month of July, we have responded to 191 calls for service as opposed to 204 for the same month last year. So slightly below that. Regarding our first initiative of road safety, we received 3 reports of impaired drivers, which led to the arrest of 1 individual. In addition to that, with our proactive enforcement, we were also able to arrest a second driver and charge them with impaired driving as well, for a total of 2 for the month of July. We've conducted 6 proactive enforcement actions for the month of July, which also led to tickets being issued for various offenses under the Traffic Safety Act. Regarding our second initiative being reconciliation and community engagement, Jesse Woodward continues to volunteer at the animal shelter. He has also participated, as you can see on the pictures, for those of you that have the report, in the Canada Day festivities. He's been cleaning elders' yards as well, whenever he sees a need for elders, whenever they need assistance. So that's a new thing that he's been doing. I have attended the Smith's Landing Treaty Days in Fort Fitz, mid-July. Also chaperoned the bike rodeo that the Métis have organized during the month of July. Regarding the third initiative of harm reduction, we are continuing to do compliance checks on our chronic offenders. Some are being released, others are being remanded in custody. Just a revolving door. But we have to keep doing these compliance checks. We do see a difference. Certainly frustrating for us, just like the community, when someone is released when they shouldn't be. That's all I have for you.
Okay, any questions? Councillor Campbell.
Yeah, thanks. I think you guys are doing a great job. But what's happening with all these? Well, I see, especially around rec center, all these small motorcycles, little 4-wheelers running around. Is there any traffic things we should be looking out for? Because they come out on the road quite easy and fast.
Yeah, I've had a conversation with Adam McNabb about it. He approached me. We're trying to put our efforts into drug enforcement and drug investigation, which take a lot of our time. You'll see some of the results in the next month's report. But it's something that is being addressed with Adam McNabb. We're taking more of an educational approach than enforcement, but I think we're getting to a point again. Every summer is the same issues and same kids that don't seem to understand what they're doing. But again, I understand when some parents say, well, we're in the North, this is our way of living and whatnot, but it has to be done in a safe way. It's just finding that fine balance. I'd rather personally see a kid doing those kind of things than hanging out with the wrong crowd, to be honest. Again, I'm just trying to highlight the fine balance we're trying to reach.
Councillor Kevin?
Well, I think it's great to educate the kids and everything, but I just don't want to see one of them get hit by a vehicle, and that's the biggest thing. That's my biggest worry. That's the thing. That's all. As long as we're educating them and trying to get them to go play in a big field or something. Thanks.
Yeah, no one else. Yeah, I guess for me does that finance or not finance, but community service, is that still active these days? By an option?
I'm not sure it would be something that Bev Shapelsky would be handling. She's currently away. I don't have a for sure answer for you.
Yeah, okay. Maybe it's something that we could look into. The reason why I'm saying that is we have a few places that could use some work in there. Say like the cemetery, cutting those grasses, and it's a pretty straightforward job. Is maybe we could look at in the future is focusing and getting them in there to do that as payback to their community or something. That's something that I wouldn't mind to take a closer look at. Thanks. Okay, sure. Yeah, something with minor charges or whatever, not really overextend on charges. Perhaps those people could look at it.
Even the people that are to a fine in court, why not help the community? Why not make a noticeable difference?
Yeah, exactly what I'm looking at. Yeah. So, okay, thanks. Do we have any other questions? Nothing. No, I see none. Yeah, I'd like to thank you and your officers and keeping our community safe in it, and and the upscale that you have brought us. I don't think we've seen that in the past before. And yes, like I said, it would be great if you could stay with us in Fort Smith. So, thanks. Okay, we have another delegation. It's from the museum. You'd like to take a seat, Mr. Michael Miltenberger.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to spend a few minutes to chat about the museum. But in order to chat about the museum, we need to just have a bit of a context here. For a long time now, the community, including the museum, has been under a lot of pressure. Our community, everywhere we look, economically, socially, we got housing issues, we got territorial government centralizing things back to Yellowknife. We got jobs we can't fill because we got no housing. We got airline issues. And a few years back, the governments, the leaders, anticipated that this is going to become a problem that has to be dealt with. And they realized a number of things. They realized that the status quo is not working. clear to see everywhere you look. They realized that no one government can go it alone on any of the big issues that affect us all. They realized that the territorial government and the federal government is broke and overstaffed. They realized that the programs that we are all rely on, housing, health, education, economy, transportation, they're in need of repair. They realized that there was a necessity for them, therefore, to come together, because what all this tells us, that in the future of our community, including the museum, there's nobody coming to save us. We can't count on Canada. We can't count on the territorial government. In fact, the territorial government's going to be coming here next week with the premier to talk about closing down yet another facility to sit there alongside the boarded up trail cross, as an example, or all the positions that are empty in town that can't be filled and are being moved to Yellowknife, or a college that sits there unoccupied for the most part. So they came together, and they had the good sense as leaders, led by the town, to get engaged in a process, the Collaborative Leadership Initiative, that got the leaders around the table to talk about how do we, as leaders in this community with all the governments, come together in a way that they've never come before. And the recognition that it's good to come together on projects and on emergencies, but there's a need for a more formal relationship. And after a couple of years of talking and working together, on June 21st, they signed this intergovernmental memorandum agreement, and it talks of a very strong vision, and it talks of priorities, culture and the economy, and all the things that we need as a community to come together that we can prosper on. And the museum, prior to this agreement, it's a nonprofit, not charitable organization with a board that has the enormous responsibility as a bunch of volunteers to keep a multi-million-dollar critical cultural asset that is underutilized and underdeveloped. In fact, in the early 2000s, the museum basically flatlined for about 3 years. The doors were closed. It couldn't open, and it was only because enough volunteers came together that we were able to be where we are today. What this agreement has done, it has brought the governments together, and the governments are taking steps to incorporate as a Tabacha Leaders Council. They're taking steps to be able to apply for money collectively to do things through the various pots of money that are there. And one of those areas that is a priority is the culture, the preservation of our history, reconciliation. And the museum has, for a lot of time, and my wife was there for 10 years on the board and as chairman, and another 5 as manager. And during that period of time, I was the unofficial head of maintenance to help out, and I could see clearly the incredible value of the museum with things like the Treaty 8 copy that we have, that is the foundational political document of this whole part of the country of Treaty 8, which is a vast area that encompasses not only Fort Smith, but north and into Alberta, BC, and Saskatchewan. So the opportunity now and the need is, and what we're proposing is that in the old days, the museum was started by the church. Canada was involved, the town was initially involved, but over the years, as we've seen all over the country, in the north for sure, the church has diminished in its importance. the federal government is not around as a player, and the territorial government has made a decision, and they moved everything to Yellowknife, and they set up another museum. And basically, like the cathedral, the community has been left with, here's this wonderful asset, but you're on your own. And in Fort Smith, the political climate up to this point has not been there to have this kind of discussion, but with this critical agreement and recognition that the governments want to work together, need to work together, that this is the museum is making the case that it is a critical time for this asset to become part of the future planning of the governments, because they own it. It's not the board that owns it, even though as chair, I'm responsible for that museum, but it is got a collection that is second to none. It has a history that it looks after, that is housed there. It is critical for this part of the country. It defines who we are and how we got to where we are. And it's an asset that, if it was seen to be owned and was owned by the governments, who could then plan in their budgets, in their cultural efforts, in their tourism efforts, and when they look at all the money that's available for culture, for museums, for reconciliation related issues tied to that, that could be brought together, where collectively owning and developing that museum far beyond from where it is now, which is basically one step above life support, that it would help the town and the community and the leadership meet its goals and priorities that it lays out in this document on reconciliation and on diversity and on community cultural preservation and celebration, stewardship, sustainable development, partnerships, you name it. The museum has the potential, and things like the Hoop and Crane festival that's going, that the museum is a key player in that. So, and it's only limited by what the governments and the people of the community see as important. So the offer is being made that in fact the board is recommending to the leadership, of which the town is a critical player. In fact, Mayor Daniels is the current chair of the the Tabacha Leaders Council, that we come and the governments look at it and hopefully agree, and that we can take the assets and divide them up 25% to the town, 25% Salt River, 25% to Smith Landing, and 25% to the Métis. And through the Territorial Leadership Committee Council, they would then own that asset and can start planning about it the same way they're planning about how do they keep the Territorial or the Tabacha Leaders Council as a key part of how the community does business. The board would stay in place. We would continue to do the work, work with the governments, the staff, to look at how we can take the cultural priorities of all the governments and weave them into the services that are provided at the museum. And all that can be done. We've already made the initial motion at the museum board. And if there is an interest, I know that we're moving into elections and there's things that we have to wait for, but it's something for the town council and the leaders and people wanting to sit on council to think about, because if we're not looking for people to save us, but we're going to look at how do we better take care of our own assets and how can we help them grow and develop. This is a prime one, and I can tell you from personal experience how difficult it is, and the unrealized potential that facility has. When we got evacuated last year, the one thing that I took, besides my moose hide jacket and some clothes as my wife and I, we took the Treaty 8, which is in a carrying case, and we took that in the car with us out of all the things in the museum that we could take, just because it's so critical. And yet most people in the community have never been in to see it, don't realize its importance, or the fact that we have over 100-year-old document that has almost miraculously survived to this day. And it's one of the things that binds us all together. So today, it's just the opportunity to have this little talk about what's possible, and look forward to any kind of discussion. But the museum is there, and it's got enormous potential with this new memorandum of agreement that has been done, where the governments will collectively decide on the future of that very, very beautiful, valuable collection that we all own. Thank you.
Any questions? Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that presentation. Are we the first one of the leadership groups that you spoke to about this? Have all the other leadership groups also received the same request from us? And is this mostly just so that you to access funding and secure the assets of this? So it's not like, are you guys at risk of not being able to sustain yourselves right now, or are we at a risk of losing any of these artifacts, and how, like, what does that look like?
Mr. Milberger.
So the proposal has gone to all the leaders, all the governments, and this is the first invitation we've received to talk to the councils. So I understand, of course, Salt River, for example, has got some elections going on, but we anticipate that we'll be having that discussion with them. So it's out there for in writing formally, and the museum is, as I indicated, basically in my mind, one step above life support. In early 2000, in fact, it flatlined for 3 years. And there was one person in there who still lives here, Clarence Reimer, who worked his heart out trying to make sure that the collection was protected, but it wasn't open. There was no board, there was nothing. So is there a risk? Absolutely. Is there an opportunity? There's a huge opportunity, and it's not just to protect the collection, but it's to take that resource and develop it to reflect the cultural priorities of the governments that have never really been reflected there. The town and the Smith Landing, Salt River, and Métis have ex officio seats, but the way that it was structured from the old days, they can't vote. They just sort of go. So because they can't vote, they don't normally attend because they have no say over what's going on. And I've talked to the leaders, and I've talked to the senior staff, and when you look at what's possible and what's available in terms of other governments, especially Canada, and you have governments like the Métis that are looking for a cultural center of their own, and it would make great sense. And I've talked to the leaders, to President Heron and to Jason, about wouldn't it make even better sense to have them to develop the museum, and if we have to put a wing in or a special part of the museum, but we can together, the leaders could set up the board to reflect all those priorities and make sure that we're not competing with each other, and that we're on this is one of the issues of common concern, of opportunity that is of common interest, that can only be done by the governments together. And that's the beauty of this agreement that was signed on June 21st.
Any other questions? Councillor Campbell?
Oh, sorry.
I think this is a great idea, but 25% ownership to each organization. What would happen, say, if somebody wants to develop, 5 years down the road, a different council somewhere, wants to develop their own cultural center and want to take 25% of their artifacts out of the museum? Is there something in there that we keep it all together? That's my major.
Good question. The Mike Couvret, Councillor Couvret is one of his little side jobs is he's the coordinator right now for the TLC, and he's looking at the incorporation, and part of that we're looking at is a united shareholders agreement that would lay out and deal with those with an agreement that's signed as part of the incorporation as a nonprofit. So that is a good question that the leaders have to talk about. This is all going to be for the common good of the community. So those questions about if you get all these assets, then I would assume the agreement would be that they stay, that you can't carve it up into little pieces. But that's a discussion the leaders would have to have, and we'll be getting a draft of that shareholders agreement to start that discussion.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Yeah, I guess I just have one question. Is at the time when the Roman Catholics ran that museum, now there was some artifacts in there that went missing, and I wouldn't mind to go after those artifacts because they are the communities. They could be Aboriginal, they could be longtime Northerners. The bottom line, it's ours. The other thing is in this reconciliation, there's nowhere that the Roman Catholic Church has ever come to on that part. I don't believe they had said sorry or whatever it was, but yeah, and rightfully so, they need to be answered for that. I would be very interested in taking those artifacts back, however that works. So that's just where I'm coming from. As this, it's I guess for the town, it's like how much money are we going to get involved? Right now, we're kind of short of money, but I'm assuming if we put our heads together, we could unravel this and probably maybe go forward with this. But yeah, that's just one of my concerns. Thanks.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the issue of the collection that's not here, it's probably stored in St. Albert in Edmonton. But the church, like the Vatican, which I understand has something like 80-some thousand indigenous artifacts that they still keep in Italy or in the Vatican, the folks, the oblates in Alberta, who are aging out at an incredible rate, they have those. So one of the opportunities of the leaders is absolutely, as they get organized and they get incorporated, is to invite the church to come and have a chat about possibly let's give us a list to start of all the things you have that left that nobody really knew about. The town wasn't really involved, and for sure in 1972 the indigenous governments were not involved, and so there's a huge gap to close. The issue here is this: if you put in the proposals, for example, the one that's on the table now, $1 million proposal that the leadership's putting in for development, including places like the museum, if you start doing those things that we don't currently do or can't do, and you get that kind of money, then that will help pay for the cost. There's all these things that are going on now that we don't access One, because we don't have the staff, and the second is because a lot of it's dedicated to Indigenous issues and reconciliation and cultural issues and all those other related areas. So this is an opportunity. It's not like the museum has no funds. I mean, we get by on like $400,000 a year budget. We get very gracious support from the town with taxes and fuel, but all that does is keep us on life support. And this is, if we're talking about with this agreement to try to build the community, then this is the opportunity where everybody pitches in. Everybody's spending money on tourism. Everybody's spending money on cultural issues. Everybody wants to have their artifacts and their cultural memorabilia looked after. At the same time, right here, we have this big, beautiful institution right in the heart of the town, all built and operating with a collection second to none. So it's an opportunity, and I think that's the way it has to be approached. If it's approached as, well, what a loser, we don't want anything to do with this, then it is, in my mind, the last thing we want to see is not only Trail Cross and possibly the jail, but the museum. It would just be, the optics would be terrible. And this is a huge opportunity if we work together.
Okay, thanks. Any questions? Mr. Tuckey, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I totally agree with what you made. A few good points in this document. I think one of the greatest things that's happened in enforcement in a long time was the coming together of these four governments and signing a memorandum of agreement to work together for the betterment of the community and in the spirit of truth and reconciliation. And this proposal I see in front of me, as presented by Mr. Miltenberger tonight, I think is only the beginning of a good thing. And I'd be quite willing to support this, because every new, let's just call it, every new governance needs a starting point. And I think something of this magnitude is a great opportunity, and I'm all for it. Thank you, Mr. Miltenberger.
Any other questions? I see none. So, yeah, we'll discuss this and then get back to you in the very near future. Thanks a lot for your presentation. Approval of minutes.
I move that the minutes from the regular meeting 07/24 of July 23rd, 2024 be adopted as presented.
I'll second.
I see none. All in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously. Okay.
I move that the minutes from the special meeting SP 06/24 of July 23rd, 2024 be adopted as presented.
I'll second.
Questions? See none. All in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously. Business arising from the minutes. Questions? Nothing? See none? All in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously. Declaration of financial interest. I see none.
I move that council approves the 2023 financial statements and audit as presented and revised by Avery Cooper.
I'll second that.
Any questions? See none arising. All in favor? Passed unanimously. Passed unanimously.
To facilitate discussion. I move that the the briefing note regarding project management for raw sewer intake and main lift station rehabilitation projects be accepted as an information item.
I'll second.
Any questions? I see none. All in favor? Passed unanimously.
I move briefing note appeal of bylaw 855 notice file number 24-249 lawn maintenance alternatives and best pesticides.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Councillor Ferguson.
Just from the briefing note given about that, this doesn't look like it meets what was required for like a natural lawn circumstance. I don't think it's like a low moisture yard that has flowers and fruits and things like that. This actually does look like really tall grass that that isn't doesn't meet what we have set out for standards for that type of shrubbery and that kind of argument. So I just want to make sure that we're not appealing, correct? That's what this is. We're not allowing for the appeal to go through.
Councillor Campbell.
Are we saying she has to cut her grass and everything? I personally, I don't think she should be cutting her grass. She should be following, the town of Fort Smith doesn't cut half its grass in all its locations. We're not following our own bylaws. And if we want to start saying this is a natural, and I don't think it was that high in the back of her yard when I drove by. I didn't go inside and look. I did drive by and a walk through. It didn't look too bad. Her front lawn was cut and trimmed to I think, to the specs of Fort Smith. But if she wants to keep her back the way she wants, let her have it. She's following through with the town of Fort Smith bylaws in front. Thanks. Bye.
Councillor Courette.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know at the last meeting when this did come up, we asked for information and a briefing note for mayor and council to consider what other jurisdictions are doing with regards to natural lawn landscapes and also the implications of fire smarting and things like that. And I feel as a councillor, I haven't had an opportunity to discuss this with Councillor Campbell or Councillor Ferguson or anybody about what other jurisdictions are doing to mitigate or to control how the parameters and some of the criteria that we should be looking at to define what is a natural environmental landscape that would be acceptable in somebody's backyard. And as such, I would like to see this actually go to committee for further discussion before we make a decision. We're talking within the briefing note, we're looking at three different issues. We're talking about unsightly land. We're talking about fire smarting, things like that. And I think making a decision, once we make a decision, we have set the precedents. And it will be, as we all know, it's really difficult once precedence has been established to change our minds and things. So really would like the opportunity to discuss this further at committee. And as such, I would almost suggest that, I know we have a motion on the floor, but that we table this motion.
Councillor Tuckey.
It's a tough situation. I totally agree with what Councillor Campbell has said. I'm not really sure if we have to table this and talk about it with great deal of discussion, because basically, if we find this woman guilty, then we're finding the GNWT guilty, we're finding the town of Fort Smith guilty, we're finding almost every property owner in Fort Smith guilty. And if they want to go around and start ticketing the government and everybody who's got a messy yard, including the town of Fort Smith, well, I'll vote in favor of this motion. But like I said, I drove around that whole block and every yard was the same. The only difference is what this young lady said, that the side of her house is mowed way short against her well, and so is the front. She was upfront, honest, and I don't know why she was singled out in the block. And was she the only person that was ticketed? I don't know. But if she was, then we have a problem. Because that whole block's a mess, including property that belongs to the town from the fence to the road. Totally despicable, if you want to call it despicable. So we're just as guilty. Do we need that? But table this and have a big, long discussion, because we're going to find everybody guilty then. And then we're going to have to act on that. That means going door to door and giving out warnings and tickets. And I'm not sure if we're prepared or have the staff to do that. So I'm voting against this motion. Thank you.
Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councillor Cravette. I think that once we do make a decision on something like this, because unsightly and fire smarting and such is really hot topics for everybody in town. And I would hate for us to jump on something without all the information that is required to make an informed decision. And I think Councillor Cravette is correct in saying that we should table this for a committee meeting till we had more information clearly outlining what other jurisdictions are doing for their definitions of natural yard or lawn, this or whatever the words and terms and verbs are, so that we can then use that when we're making decisions for anyone who might say, well, mine is a natural yard, mine is a natural habitat, whatever that looks like. We'll have the rules and guidelines that we've all agreed to, had a good discussion about, and been able to make a decision on based on more information that's what we can all decide and agree on as non-gentrified yards.
Any other comments? Councillor Campbell.
Okay, if we put this committee, so what's going to happen to her now? Does she just keep going through right now till next year or whatever? And are we setting a precedent if we go slow at this and next year say my lawn was like that all last year? Or I don't know.
Councillor Ducky.
Okay, like I said at the meeting when this first came up, there have been several reports on TV and the news how the cities are turning to doing these kinds of things. They're growing bushes that are 10, 15 feet tall in the middle of this spot or in the middle of this spot. People, if they do grow food, people aren't allowed to take it because they're using pesticides. So it's happening in all our major cities. So if our major cities are doing it, why can't Fort Smith? We are in a natural environment. We're surrounded by the natural environment. And also, like I explained with Jasper National Park, one of the biggest reasons they got that kind of a disaster that happened is because they didn't follow the rules of the land like the indigenous people did, and did control burns, which can still be done, but it would cost the government billions of dollars to catch up for lost time. It's the dead, dry stuff that creates the most hazardous of fires. We know that. And if you walk into someone's backyard and it's all green, and any leaves from the previous year has all been removed, and there's no combustible debris there, then that's called fire smarting. Because the green stuff will burn, but not at the same pace as the leaves and dry wood and all that kind of stuff. And that's why they're doing it in the cities, because it's not a big hazard if it's green. And if they can grow 25-foot bushes and that kind of stuff, small trees and stuff, I don't think this woman's too far out of her element. It is a natural, indigenous garden, as she proposed. Why would we fight that? We got natural gardens all around us.
Okay, Councillor Crivet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've had some discussion. Point of order, we do have a motion to table on the floor.
Okay, so we have a seconder on it? Do we? Seconder. Okay, nothing else? All in favor? And then opposed? 2 opposed, 2, and 3 opposed and 2 for it, so that's defeated. Right. Hey? Okay, motion to table it is defeated. So now we're dealing with the other motion. Okay. Okay, moving to the, yes, okay, we're voting for it or against it. So, all in favor for it? What?
Or lawn in the back like it did now. The grass.
To allow the grass to remain as it is right now, you're voting in favor of that right now? That's, you're asking for that vote? Okay.
Okay, in favor for the motion to let her go as is. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Against? Okay, one against. Okay, it's been, it's defeated. Thanks. Right. Okay. Okay, the appeal has been approved. Thanks.
I move that the Corporate Services Standing Committee minutes from August 6, 2024 be adopted as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions? Seeing none, all in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously.
I move that the council donate $2,500 as allocated in the 2024 budget to the Fireweed Festival under special programs. $1,500 is to be monetary cash donation. Additionally, council will make an in-kind donation of the stage and staff to the Fireweed Festival on August 3rd or August 23rd, 24th, and 25th with the value of $1,000.
I'll second that.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
I move that council motions that the town provide 7 dumpsters as in-kind donation for the Laurie Hobart Memorial Volleyball Tournament taking place October 17th to 20th, 2024 at a cost of $1,000 plus GST per unit to be taken from the 2024 donation budget. This donation is a addition to the municipal services inventory being available.
I'll second it.
Any questions? I see none. All in favor? Passed unanimously.
I move that the Protective Services Standing Committee minutes from August 6, 2024 be adopted as amended.
I'll second that.
Any questions? I see none. All in favor? Passed unanimously.
I'll move that DPA-029-24 submitted by Colinda Laviolette to operate a home occupation online mental wellness workshop. I don't know how to say that, wellness, from lot 1632, plan 289, 5, 4 Wabasca Street, Court, in Fort Smith be approved.
I'll second that.
Any questions?
How do you guys say that?
Okay, any questions? See none, all of it, all, okay, approved unanimously.
I move that DPA-030-24 submitted by Destiny Mercady to operate a home occupation on-site consulting services, Mercady Consulting from lot 1203, plan 1588, 111 Wilderness Road in Fort Smith be approved.
Any questions? I see none, all in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously.
I move that administration obtains a quote for the potential chip sealing of Marine Drive from Rose Construction.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Councillor Ferguson.
Have we heard back from the quote? Have we received a potential quote from these folks?
SAO.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, actually, we did. It cannot happen this year. We don't have the time to happen, and the cost was an estimated $768,000. They will hold that cost for next year if required, though it will change with the cost of oil. That would be the variance of the factor.
Okay, thanks.
I move that the Community Services Standing Committee minutes from August 13th, 2024 be adopted as amended.
I'll second.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously.
I move that Councillor Ferguson be appointed to the Human Resources Committee.
I'll second.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
I'll move that the Municipal Service Standing Committee minutes from August 13th, 2024 be adopted as amended.
I'll second that.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Passed unanimously.
I move that administration determines status of 3-pump phase at the lift station adjacent to the trailer court.
I'll second.
Any questions? Councillor Ferguson.
Just if there's an update on that, on the lift station 3-phase at the pumps.
SAO.
Just a very small one, though I have asked for inclusion in the municipal services report at the next committee meeting, that they are sending the lift station hardware, including the pumps, to be upgraded to 3-phase power so we can stop blowing capacitors and having the station go down. But as to this actual status of where it's at, they weren't able to determine it that quickly for me.
Okay, thanks. All in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously.
I move the council accepts Cab Construction Limited bid for $2,701,100,
$2,700,000.
$2,701,100 for the main lift station rehabilitation project.
I'll second that.
Any questions? I see none. All in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously.
I move that council accept Cab Construction Limited bid for $4,199,900 for the raw water intake rehabilitation project.
I'll second that.
Any questions? See none. All in favor? Passed unanimously.
I move that administration issues an RFP requesting the independent project manager reporting to the SAO Council for the completion of the raw water intake rehabilitation project and the main lift station rehabilitation.
I'll second that.
Any questions? SAO.
I would like the opportunity to speak to the briefing note that I provided to council earlier in this package regarding this. Go ahead. So as council is aware, council's responsibility for the projects is determining project priorities, which capital projects will go ahead. You approve the capital budgets for the capital project budgets, and then as well, council approves tenders that are over the 50,000. It is administration's responsibility to determine the process, how these projects will carry out, and to issue tenders and award proposals for anything under 50,000. This is according to our procurement policy. All of the procurement policy was followed at the very beginning of this, and council did approve the complete project budget back in June, as well as discussed it back in March, I believe. And it was approved at that time. And as such, there has been a project manager on these two projects since that time. We've had several discussions around it, but this project now has been awarded and it's well underway. And I think council really needs to reconsider this motion in the fact that you are putting the whole project at risk and the town at risk. We do have a contract in place with the project manager that is well below my authority to award, and it's been advancing very, very well, this project, and now it's ready to full blow go forward. AECOM will be providing the quality assurance and quality control for this project throughout the duration of the project, and the project manager will be providing the support to me in ensuring that invoices coming in are properly documented and are approved, and just providing that overall support to this project. So I would like to respectfully request that council not pass this motion, as I think it puts the town at risk. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any questions? Councillor Cabinet.
I'm still all for this because it is quite a bit of money and it's for the community of Fort Smith, the betterment of the community of Fort Smith. And I feel whoever wins a tender for this, we're not putting the project in jeopardy. I've seen bigger projects go through at a later date with the project manager switched over. I feel we have to give the community of Fort Smith a chance to bid on this nice work, clean, and to gain valuable experience on doing all this stuff. And I'm all for putting out for a project officer to look after it. If whoever wins it, all best for him.
Any other questions? Councillor Corbett.
Thank you. I guess, ask for clarification. I know it's been reiterated several times, but as far as I'm aware, the project management portion of this contract oversight was previously put out for informal or formal RFP under our procurement practices, and was awarded everybody, or I would assume all local project management firms were provided an opportunity to bid on the RFP.
SEO?
No, at that time, I just did an invitational as per the procurement. If it's under a certain amount, we can just do an invitational. And I did an invitational for all of the immediate projects at that time. And it was awarded. The total value of this phase 1 is 3,000, phase 2 is 24,000. So well within my signing authority.
Okay, any more questions, Councillor Ferguson?
With the current project manager that you have with this, are we in breach of contract if we change, shift gears with what we're doing right now? And what are the financial implications of that?
SEO?
I feel that would be an in-camera discussion.
Councillor Campbell?
We have to give the community of Fort Smith, the business community, not just award it to who you know and everything. We got to give it to the community of Fort Smith a chance to bid on it, not just you already awarded to one person at the start of the job. It never went out to the other. I talked to a bunch of other business people in town on this one. They never had a chance to bid on any of this yet. It's a big amount. We're not going to see this big amount again. We're just giving it to one person in town, one local business in town. We got to give it to the best money for all of us in this community. And like we asked for best price on every other contract, $24,000. I'd love $24,000 in my pocket, or $3,000, $5,000, whatever we could get for the best bang for our buck. And we got to go with it. And I feel we have to put it out to the community. Thanks.
Councillor Ferguson?
If we proceed with what the motion on the floor is, what kind of implications will have on this particular project? Like, what are the setbacks and delays that will occur if we change right now?
SEO?
It could impact the timelines, including our startup meetings will be impacted. Processes such as RFPs do require additional town resources. We risk non-response and or higher rates. Now that we've made public the actual amount of that, there's also that risk. It now becomes an uneven playing field. So we've actually done that. And breach of contract, of course, also carries with it significant risks.
Councillor Campbell?
Well, I don't see how we could have a contract with him till we signed a letter last week. We're awarding Cab Construction the contract tonight. So I don't know how we could have a full-fledged contract in place with the business person on this job yet till after tonight. So that's what I find kind of suspicious or something different. And here I'm stressing it's who we know. We got to put the whole community out for a chance if we get this, because it's going to be out there now. It's going to be worse now. Thanks.
SEO?
This project started when council approved the capital budget for this year. That is when this project started, and that's basically when we started putting together the various tender packages and moving forward on all of the projects. This specific one, council approved the first budget in January, and then again later on, I think it was in June, they approved the entirety of the capital budget when we increased it, and then before we actually went out to tender. So as I stated, this project started when the capital budget was actually approved.
Councillor Corbett?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With the project management component of the project, was that a sole source contract?
Yes, it was.
Any other questions? Councillor Tucky.
Oh, I sort of understand the arguments from both sides. I think I'm a little bit more concerned if we make a decision tonight that's going to set things back. That's concerning because this is infrastructure that needs to happen, and I think the sooner the better. And I hate to see things be put on hold and then something happen that may have been avoided. Yeah, I have concerns that if this came to a halt, because there could be some pretty negative repercussions, and definitely repercussions that we're not prepared for as a town council. Thank you.
Councillor Campbell.
This job did not come to a halt because we don't have a project officer. We awarded it to him tonight. He starts to order his parts soon as he gets a signed signature contract. He starts to order his parts or send in his shop drawings of all the material he's having. That has to go to the engineer. There's still a month of stuff yet to be done before the project even gets out of the ground. He has to send in his as-built drawings, all his stuff, what concrete is mixture of his concrete. He has to get all that approved by the engineer. He could start all that now. And we could put it at a 1 week job for the guy to look after this project. 1 week out there, let the community of Fort Smith see who wants to bid on. Maybe nobody's going to bid on it, but we just got to go with what we have. And I feel strongly for it. And let's use the best of our ability, because there's shop drawings, everything has to come in before we even do anything, everything else. So you have to go to the engineers for approval. The project manager does not do any approval of the shop drawings or anything. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Tucky.
Okay, I understand what Councillor Campbell is getting at, and I do support him in that fact that maybe a new motion has to be drawn out that from here on, anytime there's a major project going out, that instead of sole sourcing, that a bid be put out for each job and let everybody bid on it if they want to. But for the purpose of this project, I'm not sure if we can do that or not. I'm not totally convinced. I'm listening to both sides. I'm hearing there could be a detriment come back or whatever, and I'm just not willing, if we should be willing to take that risk. Could this possibly hold up the job? I'm hearing yes from one side and no from the other.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor, I believe. Okay, to the motion on the floor, to approve it, all in favor? To approve it? Okay, to approve it, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you got 4 to approve it, and abstain? You. Okay, okay, 1 against. So it's been passed. I'm looking for a word here. Okay, it's been a pass. Thanks.
I move that council approves policy CP 24-01 employee rehire.
I'll second that.
Okay, question? Okay, I see none. All in favor? All in favor, passed unanimously.
I move that council approves policy CP 24-02 attendance.
I'll second that.
Any questions? Attendance, that's for like council coming to meetings?
This is for employees.
Oh, please, okay, okay, yep. Okay, okay, we got hey, all in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously.
I move that council approves policy CP 24-03 safe and healthy workplace.
I'll second that.
What the freak? Any questions? Holy smoke. No questions, all in favor? That's unanimously.
I move that Gail Hartop be reappointed as the Community Services Advisory Board for a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2025. 2026? If it's a 2-year term? Is that a type? Yeah, 2026.
I'll second.
Any questions? I see none, all in favor? Passed unanimously. Mayor and council's board representation updates. Councillor Tucky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just like to pass my condolences to the Holzor families and to the Deserly families for their loss. Our heartfelt condolences. No committee reports. Just like to put a reminder out to the public that our school year will be beginning very shortly, and to adhere to all traffic signs and be safe around our school zones and throughout the community. Watch for kids walking to school because they'll be walking for a while. And just like to wish, we've had a pretty good summer and we've had some pretty good events. And just like to wish the Fireweed Festival the best of luck and success with their upcoming festival, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
I too also wanted to remind everyone that this weekend is the Fireweed Festival. We're going to have there's going to be a bunch of out of town performers in at the Queenie Park, and there's going to be all sorts of vendors, food vendors, workshops, musicians, all hosting events down there, and go check it out because, didn't get to have this last year. And so it'll be a good event this year. For us, this Thursday, we're having a meeting with our Human Resource Committee for directors, applicants for finance. We met with our bylaw committee review, and we passed 3 new bylaws today. So that was really good work on us here. And thanks for getting that street sweeper out. I saw makes my life so much easier when I'm riding my bike, either one of my bikes, and I have to go around corners and there's not rocks. So that was really awesome to see that out there. And the mower. Good job.
Thank you. Okay, I won't talk about grass cutting because you already covered it. No report on WTAC. They're working hard up there, but nothing here. Crack sealing, are we going to get it done again this year, or it's going to be another 3rd year not done? And is the fence and the bears at the dump all done? Can we have an update on that? And the road to the boat launch, hunting season coming. Everybody's concerned about what's happening with that road. It's rough, never been graded on down to the thing. Any gravel put in, like we have a little budget for it, but we never did nothing down there to even look after the community. And the big one, the graveyard fence. What's happening to it? Everybody, I don't even want to bring it up anywhere I go because they laugh at us because we just keep going round and round on it. That's all I'm going to say on that. Thanks.
Yes, I send my condolences to all of those that lost loved ones over the past month or two. Basically, not a lot to update. With the post-secondary education committee, I've requested to find out when the Board of Governors are going to be next meeting. There was some hearsay that they may be meeting in Fort Smith sometime in September. I'm just trying to establish if that's the case, and if so, I'll be bringing forward a recommendation that mayor and council or the post-secondary education committee do try and meet with them, talk about the future of the college, since from all indications from the government and from the college, the Polytech University is not in the immediate future anymore. So we have a fantastic campus here that needs to be better utilized by students and provide the economic benefits to our community that it really could do if it was properly utilized, with a range of additional programs offered here, such as reintroduction of the social services diploma program, the teacher education program, and things like that. Thank you very much.
I'd like to send my condolences to all the people that lost a loved one in their family within the last month or so. My concerns are some incidents that took place within the last week or two. One of them was with the landfill bear issue. As a sustainable land user and a harvester, I didn't agree with how all the bears got dispatched out there. I understand there was a total of 16 bears at the one day that were out at the landfill. From my understanding, I don't know if all 16 bears were dispatched. Dispatch means they got killed rather than relocated. And the other issue was, I do understand there were bears in town, and those I can understand being dispatched for the safety of the people. The other issue is we're also getting a little bit of darkness now within this month, and within the last few days, we are starting to witness people, youngsters, I'm not very sure if they're teenagers or the young adults, have started breaking and removing vehicles and stealing stuff. And we do have issues of people going from yard to yard and inspecting people's yards for theft. Thank you.
Thanks. Just to give a little bit of insight, the water line that is coming from our water plant going into Smith Landing, as of yesterday, it took another turn, which is we had a meeting at Smith Landing, and we're talking to the consultants that were working on that proposal. So they also brought up that there's a few houses that is located at the ski hill, that's which is in back of Carl's Drive. So they're looking at putting that into the proposal as well. So what's that means is better for us, because if they do that and they run that line there, then it's closer for us to tap into that line and give Carl's Drive all the water that they would need. And with today's technology, I firmly believe that we do not have to do any of that pavement up again. We just drill underneath and get it done. So it is coming, and it's looking good. And they're probably looking at maybe breaking ground next summer. So that is one major thing that we are getting done. And with that project, it'll limit our water truck for a lot less usage, in which we need to probably have a new water truck in time coming, but hopefully that eliminates that problem. The other one that I wouldn't mind to look at is all these ditches here in the community. I don't believe we need all these ditches. The reason I'm saying that is we are due for a garbage truck, and the new garbage truck is the overhead So how does the ditches play in that role? Perhaps we don't need those ditches in some cases. There will be ditches here, but I don't believe that we need them all over the joint. We need to get this dump truck. This is what we need. This other truck is breaking down and it's just costing us more money than us not dealing with it. I would just rather buy a new one, fix these ditches up, and let's move on. So that is one of them that I wouldn't want to lean into. As for, and then there's other stuff. There's the park that we need to really get started in May, early May, April, early May, to building that stage next year. We've been here for 3 years. This project has been dragging on, and I thought we'd be in there by now, but we're no here nor there. This year we got in there as our Canada Day, but we need more access into that place. So we need to push these guys to put paper to pen here. And I'd like to give my deepest condolences to the Desley family and the Holter family. And yes, my deepest condolences to both families and to the ones that are suffering hard stuff in their community. And yeah, and I think that's about it for now that I could think of. Yeah, so thanks a lot. Thanks. Absent of councillors.
I move that Councillor Ferguson be excused from the Corporate Services Standing Committee meeting of August 6, 2024.
I'll second that.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously.
I move that Councillor Ferguson be excused from the Corporate Services Standing Committee meeting on August 6, 2024. Or Protective Services.
I'll
Any-
second it.
Any questions? See none, all in favor? Pass unanimously.
I'll move that Councillor Bolio be excused from the Community Services Standing Committee meeting on August 13th, 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor? All in favor, pass unanimously.
I'll move that Councillor Bolio be excused from the Municipal Services Standing Committee meeting on August 13th, 2024.
All in favor?
I'll second.
Passed unanimously. Councillor, oh, okay.
I'll move that Councillor Pissinger and Deputy Mayor Carroll be excused from the regular meeting of Council 0824 on August 20th, 2024.
I'll second.
All in favor? Passed unanimously. Date for the next council.
Do you want me to read it?
Go ahead. Your voice sounds better.
Okay. The date for the next council meetings are as follows. Corporate and Protective Services Standing Committee meetings is on September 3rd, 2024. Community and Municipal Services Committee meetings will be on September 10th, 2024. And the regular meeting of council 0924 will be on September 17th, 2024.
I move for adjournment of this meeting at 8:26.
I'll second.
Adjourned.